everybody. It's Eugene, the Dungeon Master for the Longstrange Cantrips March of Progress campaign. We are an actual play D&D campaign, which is live streamed on twitch.tv/longstrangecantrip. And here on our YouTube channel, you can catch replays, you can catch DM summaries by me, Eugene, the DM, highlights, as well as videos like this, in which I present my DM notes for a series of sessions. This is the third such video, and we'll be covering the very end of the first, I would say, complete adventure that the party embarked on. I should say this is my fourth time recording this video. I believe that it is cursed, and so if something happens to it this time, it just isn't meant to be. That also explains the long gap between the last video and this one, but don't worry, more are coming. And of course, we will be live this week and in every other week beyond that on twitch.tv/longstrangecantrip. Please follow us there and subscribe to our channel here. Anyhow, onto the DM notes. As I said, this was covering the last few sessions of the party's first big adventure, the sort of concluding third act, or second and third act, I guess you could say. And the quick synopsis there is the party was asked to go to an island in order to assist in forestalling an invasion by the rebel Duchess Ethelyn and her followers before that invasion led to a war between her kingdom, Reeser, and the kingdom that the island belonged to, Danor. What was supposed to be an assistance mission thrust them into the primary role after the death of the elite team that was in charge of the operation itself. The group made their way across the island and traversed its various dangers. They found the fort where Duchess Ethelyn was holed up. They opened the seawall that allowed the naval forces of Reeser to enter, while the party fended off the Duchess's own troops, and finally set off to find the Duchess herself, only to run into an elven man of immense power who was sent to kill the Duchess on behalf of the elite class of the parallel Fey world to this world, known as the Dreaming. Team managed to save the life of the Duchess, as well as the Denoran minor noble, who allowed her to retake the island in the first place out of concern for what Danor was planning there. And the party also learned that Danor seems to be working on some potentially cataclysmic technology. They turned over the Duchess to Reeser, then secreted the Denoran man, Nathan, back to Reeser to continue his research and completed their mission successfully thereby. In terms of my prep for this session, I wanted to get a few priorities across. First, I really wanted the players to understand their mission. In a meeting with Leah Jair, the Denoran Minister of Outsiders, the sort of de facto ambassador to Reeser. And they really had to get invested in why this was important, which means giving them a sense of urgency to retake the island and to understand that if they don't do this, it'll lead to war. I also wanted to use the journey from the mainland of Reeser to the island as a way to spur some interesting conversations between the players themselves, their characters, of course, and the characters and NPCs. Once they were on the island, it was imperative that I make sure the players feel like they have options. I think a map really helps with that because it lets them feel like they're sort of charting their own path. It's literally a world of possibility. They pick a place and go there. Now, in reality, there are definitely points of interest that you can draw the eye toward. You can explain that there are dangers to other paths, but you can't make the choice an illusion altogether, or the players will be sure to see through that. So I love folding out a map, or in our virtual tabletop, displaying a map and saying, which way do you want to go? In the fort, I sort of wanted to convey the sense of like a spy mission, infiltration. So I had this sort of tense music playing, and I wanted to create the sense of real kind of secretive, furtive tension while still allowing some exploration. Sort of like when Bond shows up at some place that he's not supposed to be, the bad guy's mansion. Then the scene where they were getting the seawall open had to feel really tense, high stakes, like there were overwhelming odds bearing down on them, so that the coming of the ship, which they allowed to enter in through the seawall, felt like a real rescue, a real reward for all that effort. Finally, when they met Azrabe Varal, the Elven man, in his confrontation with Duchess Ethelyn, and before that, as he's making his way to Ethelyn's tower, I wanted to make sure that the might of this very powerful warrior was palpable, and that the players could also tell that there are some machinations and powerful forces at play that were sort of beyond their ability to reckon with. Of course, at the very end, they have to have a decision, which is how much they want to risk to keep the Duchess alive and what do they want to do with her. So my thoughts on what worked. So far, I think that we're having really great interactions among all of the characters. They seem to be learning each other's quirks, not just as players, but as characters in earnest, and responding to those quirks in character. That's pretty difficult to achieve so early in a campaign, and it's definitely going to develop much more, I hope. But so far, it's working quite well, I think. In the exploration of the island, I think that the players definitely got a sense of its mystery, and I think it did successfully allow them to choose their own path. The idea was to put the agency in their hands, and I think we definitely achieved that. Depending on which path they took, they may have encountered different things, but you saw the encounters that we really wanted to have in place there. The point is to reflect that they've made a choice, and also to allow the encounters to serve as an opportunity for the characters to be reflected in how they choose to deal with them. So, for instance, when they got to this rope bridge and Brachus used an axe to chop the whole thing down, sending the rebels toppling to the bottom of the canyon, that was a very Brachus-like thing, which is kind of cool that we've developed that so early in the campaign. Another example is running into this lumbering automaton. The players tried to bring to bear their knowledge, their expertise, even making a clever connection between the witch oil and the seemingly odd behavior that they observed on the island. And then Ekthos, true to form, got too curious for his own good, only to have his beloved machine, Mekthos, smashed. Finally, I think that the descriptions of Varal were effective and evocative enough that the players really felt like he shouldn't be messed with. I always find that those are difficult tightropes to walk because you don't want it to feel like a Deus Ex Machina or like, this isn't World of Warcraft. You can't put a big red skull on top of someone and say, this guy is too powerful, don't fight him. At the same time, you want the players to have some sense that they don't feel like they've been encouraged to take on a challenge that is too big for them to manage. That actually worked in this case, that the players felt that this person needed to be negotiated with, avoided if possible. But that actually heightened the tension even more when they decided, all right, in order to save the Duchess's life, someone who we feel quite ambivalent about, we still have to fight this guy, even though it's a huge risk. So I think that taking that effort became more meaningful because the players had a sense of Varal's power. In terms of what didn't work in my mind, I think that the puzzle that Leah Jair showed the players and characters in her encounter with them at the RHC headquarters ended up being more of a diversion and not terribly fun. I think in some sense, like, I didn't really get the puzzle. I think in some sense it's supposed to be a sort of Kobayashi Maru, show that the players understand that you have to, change the conditions of the test in order to prevail. But it didn't really seem to have too much of a point. It didn't allow anyone to sort of bring forth their character, and I think it sort of stifled the social interaction a bit. And jumping all the way forward in time to sort of the end of the adventure, I think the concluding scene was not as effective as I would have liked. It was a big word salad exposition dump where the players heard these three characters, Duchess Ethelyn, Nathan Jair, and Azrabe Varal, talking about the Unseen Court and talking about Azrabe's relationship with the fourth character. And there were just too many proper nouns, too much new information, and no sense that the players could really get involved. I just think it was not the best way to convey all of that information and felt very passive. So I think I would have liked to convey the necessary information there about the Unseen Court and about Azra Bay's tie to them a little bit better. Finally, one surprise that I was struck by during the play was the player's decision to stay safe from Azra Bay. As I said, I think it's really difficult to convey that someone is powerful, and the players are there to be heroes. Ultimately, they're there to take action in the world and see its reactions, and so it's not all that often that you can have them decide to be passive, decide to take a step back. But here, in this case, they did, and I think that it shows that they were really stepping into the role of the characters and role-playing, doing what their characters actually would do. And folks, isn't that what it's all about? So those are my DM notes for the first book of this campaign of the March of Progress. Again, you can catch us live at twitch.tv/longstrangecantrip, where I hope you'll follow us. You can subscribe to this channel for more. Definitely more videos coming this week of some of our past sessions and summaries of those. We've now started the second big adventure. It's much more of a traditional mystery, I think, so far, where the players can really step into their own as constables of the RHC, the Royal Homeland Constabulary of Reeser. And we have a few other surprises planned as well. So stay tuned, come watch us play, and as always, may your rolls be 20 and your misses few.